Let's get a quick take on this last topic. Racially motivated incidents occurring in Colorado is on the rise. Reports of spray-painted swastikas, racial slurs, and other hate speech on homes, cars, and schools throughout the state have surfaced. Meanwhile, the self-proclaimed alt-right movement is gaining media attention, but some are calling the moniker into question, saying neo-Nazi or white supremacist is more accurate. Nick, we'll do a quick take on this one. When you hear the term alt-right, do we in the media or everyone else need to take a stronger look at that term?
Well, I think you saw some guidance from the AP to put alt-right in quotation marks, scare quotes, so I thought that was very fascinating. I mean, this is a term that they have embraced, this movement. This is a term that, you know, they like. Granted, I think that there is some nuance and there's some parsing with every group that I think the media is responsible to do. So I guess following that AP advice, really be specific when what you are talking about the alt-right.
I can't think of anyone better to ask this question to as an award-winning news editor in Patty. Patty, what do you think about our use of the term?
Well, interestingly, Westward is an alternative newspaper. That's a genre that grew up in the 70s, and no one would call those papers right. So now that some on the right are being labeled alt, they should be honored. It's a, you know, alt-left, alt-right. Basically, you don't want to label any group because there is so much variation within. Just as there's variation within Democrats and Republicans, there's variation within the fractions of those parties. And it's extremely important to really be specific about who you're talking about rather than falling into stereotyping.
David, what do you think? 2 weeks ago, we talked about really the hijacking of Breitbart.com. The founder, Andrew Breitbart, was nothing like Steve Bannon. What do you think about the term alt-right?
I think it's an overstatement that gives these scum too much legitimacy to be taken seriously. Alternative newspapers, even in the early days in the 70s, didn't have, say, the circulation of the Denver Post or the Rocky Mountain News, but they were a notable presence with a lot of readers. If you listen to alternative rock, you're not going to, the people in that genre don't have as much listenership as, you know, the Rolling Stones, but there's a lot of people who listen to alternative rock. In contrast, this meeting of the so-called alt-right, 200 losers getting a day pass from their mother's basement in a hotel room in Washington, D.C., is not a significant political movement, no more so than the Black Panther, the new Black Panthers, another extremist fringe hate group which has actual very little support among real patriotic Americans, and neither of those should be treated by the media as if they were some important movement.
John, wrap it up for us.
Well, I mean, if the alt-right is Bannon and he's now in the White House, I mean, there has to be some legitimacy given to that group of people. Bigotry, along with racism, sexism, and all that are on the rise. And now, as Trump, as Donald heads to the the White House, who knows what's going to happen? I think what we've seen last week with the flag burning, take their passports, kick them out of the country, put them in jail for a year, all of that, and this whole situation with pay for play in terms of the Defense Department contracts that the government is giving to what is it, International Technology, the company that is the owner of Carrier. I think what we're seeing right now this week, even before this presumptive guy gets in the White House, I think all of this is critical as to what goes on over the next couple of years.